Dear students, welcome back to the online sessions on DCCN. So we are discussing on the network layer protocol. So before I just wanted to proceed in discussion with network layer protocol, I just wanted to cover the basics because network layer is going to comprise the data transmission in the network. So therefore, you should know the complete flow, that is the complete flow in terms of the data coming from presentation layer onto the network layer. So that means you should have the complete basics. That means as we simply go ahead in the layers to come, you should know you should know entirely the complete functionalities of the protocols that we are normally going to handle in the layered network architecture. So in that, the first one is that we have to undergo with the standardization. So what is the standardization? Standardization is normally required to allow the interoperability between the equipments. So standardization means what? There is going to be a predefined procedure or steps to be followed in order to perform the communication between the two equipments in the communication system. That means the two computers or two devices or two terminals or two electronic gadgets are normally going to have some interoperability. So that means you have to compulsorily allow some interoperability functionality between the two equipments in the communication channel or a communication link or a communication network. So that means the standards has to be designed such that it should provide the interoperability between the two devices. That is the first and a foremost objective of going for the standards. Then what are the advantages that we normally going to come across when we standardize any system? The advantages is that it's simply going to allow to manufacture products from the different vendors to communicate the signal from one end to another end. That means different vendors can come up with different products to provide the communication, but all these vendors has to compulsorily satisfy to the standards, predefined standards designed by the standard organizations in the communication system. Then it's going to ensure a large market for equipment and software. That means if more number of vendors are going to come into picture, then it's simply going to increase the data communication equipment market and the required software to provide the communication between the two computers in the network. So therefore the advantages is going to be something like, if at all you wanted to provide products in the market, you have to have the standardization. So because of standardization, we can have many products in the communication network with hardware as well as software, so that a large market really can be a large market can get established in the communication system. Therefore, we go with standardization. So anyway, we'll be having some disadvantages also. Everywhere there are going to be advantages, disadvantages. There are some disadvantages, such as something like it is going to freeze the technology. That is what one of the disadvantage. If the technology is increasing rapidly, then the standard procedure is not really going to support all the different technologies. Therefore, it is simply going to freeze the technology. That means it is simply going to concise the utilization of the technology, nothing but freezing the technology. It freezes the utilization of the technology, or it stops the utilization of the upcoming technologies when we standardize any system or any process, any software procedure. So therefore, this is what one of the drawback, and maybe multiple standards for the same thing. So here, if at all we wanted to communicate a signal from one computer to another computer, there can be multiple standards to do so, based on the data rates, based on the type of the wire connected between the source and destination computer, and based on the underlying technology used in communication path, there can be multiple standards. But the same thing is what communication. The thing is only one, that is called communication. So for the same thing, we are normally going to come up with multiple standards. So anyway, I don't think this multiple standards for the same thing is going to be a drawback, but because it all depends on the requirement of the user. Based on the requirement of a user, user is normally going to choose. But drawback comes only in terms of for a same thing, we are going to do the same thing with different possibilities. So that is what one of the drawback which we can just think of in terms of standardization. Okay, then next important point is organizations, standard organizations which are normally going to approve the standards that will be developed by the vendors in the market. They're called Internet Society, International Organization for Standardization called ISO, and ITU, International Telecommunication Union. Okay, that is what for telecommunication processing, and ATM Forum, Asynchronous Transfer Mode Forum. These are the 4 different standards organizations which will approve the products coming from different vendors in the data communication industry. Then our main objective is that we will be discussing only on the layer network architecture. The architecture which we have in syllabus is layer network architecture. So now what is the advantage of layered network architecture? The layer network architecture is normally going to support performing the subset of the required communication functions. So here we will be having many communication functions. Every layer is going to perform a little task in the communication functions. That means one functionality will be performed, or 2 or 3 functionalities will be performed by a single layer. So in doing so, what happens is the work of functionalities are going to get shared by different layers, right? So that means in doing so, what is happening here is all the layers are going to divide the work, and they are simply going to work in cooperation with the other layer. That is what the thing which is simply happening over here. So each layer should compulsorily rely on the next lower layer to perform a more primitive functions. So each layer has to depend on its lower layer to perform the most primitive functionalities. So every layer is going to perform its own intended specific functionalities. That is what the thing which we are speaking here. And apart from this, each layer should provide services to its next higher layers. So that means as every layer is performing an independent task, every layer should also give a service to its higher layers. So that is what one more functionality that is called interfacing functionalities is normally going to be an added functionality in each and every layer, because every layer should provide some interfacing functions to its higher layers. Therefore, every layer should provide services to its higher layers. Definitely, there are going to be some drivers in between the 2 layers which provides these services. Now, one more advantage is that changes in one layer should not require changes in the other layers. What does it mean? All the layers are independent of each other. Since all the layers are independent of each other, it can support the object-oriented concepts. So in the case of object-oriented concept, all objects are defined, are derived, are implemented independently. That means in order to function, in order to perform a functionality in an object, it need not fully depend on the other objects, because every object is going to be independent of its own kind. So that means that kind of a functionality, OOPS concepts can be easily incorporated if one layer should not depend on the other layer. So that means if you make some changes in one layer, you need not make the changes in the other layer. That means other layers need not know about the changes of the underlying layers, which it really uses when the communication is going to happen in the network. So that's what the thing which we normally going to have, so that the system is going to become the object-oriented kind of a system. So in the case of object-oriented kind of a system, we normally implement a bottom-up approach. So usually in the data communications also, we implement a bottom-up approach, okay, to support the OOPS concepts. So what is the advantage of the layer network architecture is something here provided over here. The data coming from application layer, which is user data, is simply given to the next layer called as presentation layer. Okay, this presentation layer is going to that means the data coming from application layer will be coming with its own header. See, this is called application header. Data with application header is given to the presentation layer. Presentation layer is going to add its own data, its own header, and it performs its task. It adds its own header and gives that data in or information to the next upper layer. See, when you're going from when you're coming from application layer to the physical layer, that means if you implement a top-down approach, what is the upper layer to the application layer? It is a presentation layer. What is the upper layer to the presentation layer? Session layer. What is the upper layer to the session layer? It is a transport layer. So like that, the layering will be done. If it is a bottom-up approach, what is the upper layer to the physical layer? It is a data link layer. What is the upper layer to the network layer? It is going to be a transport layer. So it depends on the approach that we normally going to incorporate in the communication process. Okay, so for the time being, we are not discussing on the approach like top-down or bottom-up approach implementation to transmit the data. We are only discussing about the various layers and its functionalities in our syllabus. So therefore, we are least bothered about the bottom-up or top-down approach that we are normally going to follow here. Okay, so let's not bugged up discussing about the top layer, bottom layer. So that is why you can just use any name, like, so that means transport layer is going to provide service to its top layer. Upper layer means what? If you are looking in terms of the bottom-up approach, the upper layer to transport layer is session layer. So it should provide services to session layer. If it is top-down approach, then the session layer, then the top layer of the session layer is going to be transport layer. So session layer should provide services to the transport layer. So that means in that perspective, we can just simply interchangeably use these words. So the point of discussion is not about that. So only how the data is getting transmitted to the destination computer. So imagine if this is the source computer. So if at all a source computer wanted to communicate its data to the destination computer, the source computer should compulsorily undergo generally these 7 layers. So that means after presentation layer performs its task, it adds its header and gives that information to the session layer. After session layer performs its task, it adds its header called session header, and the data is simply given it to the handed over to the transport layer. After transport layer performs a task, it simply adds its header called transport header. And like this, the data size, if you observe carefully, this is the data size in the application layer called as user data. The data size has been increased by the time when it reaches to the physical layer. Now reverse operation is simply going to happen at the destination computer. Okay, so destination computer is going to strip off, see, the data link layer is going to strip off the data coming from the physical layer, and network layer is going to strip off the data, that means network header. Then it simply performs a task. Then this data is given to the transport layer. Transport layer will take the data after stripping off the data related to the transport layer. Okay, using the information called transport header. Like this, the data is simply once again finally transmitted to the destination computer. So this is how the data is simply been communicated from one end to the another end. So that means here the two systems are communicating by using the communication path. The path may be a wired communication, it may be a wireless communication. So two types of links are going to get provided between source and the destination. One is going to be point-to-point link, another one is going to be the multi-point link. Okay, so usually point-to-point is not normally going to be a more practical kind of a communication path. We simply going to use a multi-path in general for internet working applications. Okay. So this is how, what we can say simply as a framework, OSI framework for the standardization. So all these layers put together is normally meant for communication functions, to provide communication functions. All these layers are going to provide functionalities for the communications between two systems, two or more systems. Now, what is this layer network architecture is doing? it is going to decompose. It is going to decompose various functionalities into layers. So every layer is normally going to perform functionalities. That is what it should provide services to the up layer and the down layer. Okay, that means it has to provide services to the upper layer and also to the down layer. And it should provide its own functionalities in terms of its own protocols. So protocol with the peer network layer, it should support protocols to communicate protocols. It should support protocols to communicate with the non-pair type of the computers or devices. Okay, so this is what put together we normally think of the framework. That means why we are doing framework, just we are dividing the given communication functionalities into independent functionalities, and then we are simply communicating the signal after making all these layers working together one after the other in sequence in the communication process. So this is what the entire stuff we're actually doing over here. Okay, now each layer, what each layer is normally going to do, every layer is going to perform its own functionality. Therefore the internal use, that means internally every layer is going to perform its own task. That's what one thing. And every layer should provide some addressing method in order to address the other layer. So therefore they are going to support service access points. So every layer should support the protocol specifications. So every layer, that means writing functionality in the layer means what? We write functionality in terms of a protocol. That is what the thing which we discussed. Therefore, the most important element in the standardization is going to be called as protocol specification. One has to provide the specifications for the protocols, because protocols are known as set of rules which governs the communication between the two systems. So therefore, protocol specifications, what does it support now? It operates between the same layer on two different systems. So what do you mean by a protocol? Protocol is normally going to operate between the same layers on two different systems. That means there is a source computer, there is a destination computer. The source computer's network layer protocol will be understood by the destination computer network layer protocol. Okay, that means I can say more or less the network layer protocol on the source computer should not be given to the transport layer of the destination computer. So that is what I mean by operates between the same layer on two different systems. So may involve different operating systems. So this is what the advantage of a protocol architecture. We have basically platform independent system. Java virtual machine is going to support platform independency, because in internet we normally going to connect different types of systems. Means what? Different types of operating systems. So the protocol should compulsorily provide services to different types of operating systems. So that means what? Protocols will involve many different operating systems. That means a protocol has to be written or a functionality has to be implemented keeping in view of different types of the operating systems in the network. So therefore it is not that easy. Protocol specifications must be precise enough in terms of formats of data units. Some systems are going to operate with 8-bit, some of them operates with 16-bit, 32-bit, 64-bit. So data units, how it is normally going to support, that has to be very much clear in terms of presenting the data. That means this particular section is been used by the presentation layer of the layered architecture. Semantics of all the fields, that means the fields of the data. That means whenever we think about any application, an application is going to have different fields, such as MS Office. If you take MS Office, what is the bit size of the operating system on which MS Office has been created? What is the version of the MS Office? And what are going to be the data formats that MS Office is going to support? So on and so forth related to data, in fact. So all this is once again presentation layer implementations. So that means protocol should allow the sequence of the PCUs. That means the protocol should support the communication in terms of uh, transmitting the packets in sequence. Next is service definitions, functional description of what is provided. And it has to provide addressing. Addressing is normally provided by the network layer. So network layer is responsible for providing the service access points, SAPs. So service definition means what? It is normally provided by the transport layer. So transport layer. So it provides functional description of what is provided. That means how the data has to be transmitted reliably with low cost. That is what the functional description, which has to be provided by the transport layer. That means protocols has to be designed keeping in view of almost all the layers from application layer to the data link layer. So next layers we have discussed, like, as you know, see, it all depends on the approach that we normally go ahead. Like if you're going with bottom up approach, we start with physical layer. If you're going with the top down approach, we start with the application layer. In order to understand the communication process, it is better we go with application layer to understand. Even though we implement bottom up approach when the communication is taking place, but to understand, it is always better, I feel, to go with the top down approach. So that is why I start with application layer first of all. So what the application layer will do, it provides a means to access the OSI environment. That means application layer supports the protocols to access the open system interconnection environment. That means it means for applications to access the OSI environment. What are the applications we are going to have in real time? The applications that we're going to have, just as we discussed in the previous sessions, we're going to have FTP, file transfer protocol, we're going to have SNTP, simple mail transfer protocol. We may be looking for the network management protocol applications. We may be looking for the telnet application. So all these are the applications. So therefore the application layer is going to provide protocols such as FTP, UDP, LDP. So FTP, telnet, not actually UDP is basically for transport layer. So application layer is going to support protocols known as FTP, SMTP, okay, telnet, in order to interact with the OSI model, okay, which normally going to speak about what type of application we are dealing with. And next, presentation layer deals with the data formats of the information that we wanted to present on the computer, on the destination computer. So in what format you want the data to be displayed, right? So therefore that's the data formats and coding. So what type of coding is implemented? Maybe like type of line coding. What type of line coding is implemented while transmitting the data? Next is it supports data encryption, data compression, and data expansion. It supports data encryption and data decryption. So while data is getting transmitted, the data is going to get compressed, and data is also going to get encrypted, something like called as encoding techniques. So the data has to be, dealt well, and data has to be processed well in the presentation layer before it is given it to the next layer called as the session layer. The next layer is going to be called as session layer. So one should know the sequence. Don't miss the sequence. Application layer, presentation layer, session layer, transport layer, network layer, data link layer, and the physical layer. So this sequence you should not miss. If you miss the sequence, you lose the marks in the exam. So please mug up this sequence so that you never miss the sequence in the exam. The next is session layer. Session layer is responsible for the control of dialogues between the two computers. That means it has to maintain the session. It has to track the session management protocols. Then next, it has to maintain the discipline of dialogue discipline. Then it is going to involve in grouping. That means if more than one user, say for example, I mean to say a conference call, if more than one user wanted to communicate in a conference call, they can do it by using grouping. So which layer is going to perform that grouping? It is a session layer. Then recovery of the session. If session got lost, then there should be some methodology mechanisms to recover the session once again without the involvement of the user. And similar to that, we're going to have called as, so after session layer, you're going to have the transport layer. So transport layer is responsible for exchanging the data from source to the destination computer reliably with low cost. That means it deals with exchange of information with reliability and low cost. And transport layer is responsible for error-free transmission of the data. And it provides sequencing to the data coming out of the transport layer. So usually the data coming out of transport layer is termed as messages. And because of sequencing, we never lose the data. Duplicates will be avoided in the transport layer. And also the quality of service is dependent on the transport layer. Now, since the quality of service depends on the working of transport layer, we call this as heart of the layered network architecture, or it comes at the middle layer of the OSI layer architecture. So it's the middle layer or heart of the OSI model. The next layer is going to be network layer. Network layer is going to support transmission of the information. So see, everywhere transport layer, network layer, data link layer are responsible for transferring data, of course, but in that transferring, the workload is simply being divided. So while transferring data, what functionalities network layer is supporting now? It is supporting the functionalities such as the internet working, addressing, routing, packetizing, and fragmentation. So these are the 5 functionalities supported by the network layer. So in order to perform those functionalities, it has to support some design aspects, some design issues. So we just listed out about those design issues to support the functionalities of the network layer. So because of network layer, what is the advantage we get? The higher layers will the higher layers need not really bother about the underlying technology used at under the network layer. What kind of networks are there in the communication path? Okay, the higher layers need not really bother about type of networks, type of technologies used. It is so totally unaware. The transport layer and session layer, presentation layer will be totally unaware of the underlying technology used in the internet working networks. So, and next one is network layer, not needed on the direct links. What is the primary use of network layer? It has to support internet working. Internet working means what? It is not a direct link. It is totally on multiple data links. So therefore, not needed on we don't prefer network layer to connect to systems directly. In order to connect two systems directly, we don't use network layer. If at all we have a requirement of connecting multiple systems, then we go with the network layer. So that's one of the greatest advantage of going for the network layer. Then next we discussed in the second unit, that is a data link layer. The data coming out of the network layer is called as packet. So this distinction you should know. The data coming out of transport layer is called as message. The data coming out of the network layer is called as packet. The data coming out of the data link layer, the data coming out of the data link layer is known as the frame. So these things one has to really understand. Then data link layer means what is it? It provides now. It provides the means of activating, maintaining, and deactivating a reliable link. So data link layer is responsible for providing the flow control and error control methods. So that's why it is going to support definitely. So flow control, error control means what? It has to activate the device, it has to maintain the connection, it has to deactivate the connection. So all these 3 operations comes in the flow control method only. So under this flow control method, error control method, we are going to have the error detection and control mechanisms. So therefore, because the data link layer is taking the headache of activating the link, deactivating the link, maintaining the link, the higher layers are totally free of the transmissions. So they need not bother about all this. things over there. Okay. So the last layer is going to be the physical layer. The physical layer is normally going to interface various devices with mechanical contacts, electrical wiring, functionally and procedurally we can able to connect to the other device. So these are the layers which we discussed earlier, and we are working at a network layer right now. So therefore, network layer is going to support the functionalities as per the requirement. So in this process, we undergone all this earlier, like the various terms which we're going to use, known as the transmitter, receiver, and medium. We're going to have different communication links called as direct link, point-to-point link, and a multi-point link. Usually for internet working, we go with a multi-point link. So direct link, point-to-point link, we simply don't really look into that much. Modes of communication is going to be definitely, all these modes are suitable for internet communication, like simplex, half duplex, and full duplex kind of communications. So a communication general block diagram of a data communication system is going to be, you're going to have a source, destination, you're going to have modems, and intermediate thing, you're going to have a telephone network, public telephone network. And the key communication concepts which we tasks that we look into is something like the communication transmission system utilization. So that is a basic block diagram which we just discussed. And interfacing, signal generations, synchronizations. That means to proceed with the network layer, one has to understand all these basic fundamentals. So once after we really once again go through these fundamentals, now we simply continue our session with the, in the next session, we continue our discussion with the, what is that, network layer design issues, right? In the design issues, we come across all the various functionalities which we discussed, most importantly known as routing especially. So we discussed most importantly routing, how the network layer is going to perform routing in the network layer protocol design. Thank you very much for today's session.